Shall we prepare ourselves and get started? Let's take 3 deep conscious breaths together. And with the deep in breath. Shanti. Shanti, Shanti. The 4 agreements. Well, I've got a bunch of slides today. We talked about the first agreement last time, be impeccable with your word, and today we're going to finish it up, and I have what I hope is a fun little exercise to look inside ourselves. So we're looking at chapter 3, the story of you. The first is the most important of the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. And we've talked about what that means for us. The word is your power of creation, and that power can be used in more than one direction. One direction is impeccability, where the word creates a beautiful story, your personal heaven on earth. So is that the story that you're telling yourself? The other direction is misuse of the word, where the word destroys everything around and creates a personal hell. Ooh, that doesn't sound too pleasant. But we probably know or have seen some people whose story is so negative, it just seems like they're living in a personal hell. Mm-hmm. So let's look underneath that and see what some of the choices are that we've made. The word, which is a symbol, has the magic and power of creation because it can reproduce an image, an idea, a feeling, or an entire story in your imagination. So that's the power of the word. It's like magic. Just hearing the word horse can produce an entire image in your mind. Horse, yeah? So there it is, horse. It's just a symbol, and yet, bang, up comes an image. That's the power of a symbol. But it can be even more powerful than that. Just by saying 2 words, the Godfather, a whole movie can appear in your mind.
Yep, that's a horse thing.
So first a horse showed up with that symbol. Now the Godfather, and bang, we start seeing Marlon Brando and that whole movie. So this is our magic, our power of creation, and it begins with the word. So we just saw how the word can create things in our mind. Perhaps you can understand now why the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I find this very interesting to think about because what the scripture says, there's no time lapse. There was no creating. It's just in the beginning, like before time began, was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So God and the Word are the same. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. According to many religions, in the beginning, nothing existed. And the very first thing that God created was the messenger, the angel who delivers a message. And of course, that message needs to use words, doesn't it? You may understand the need for something that could transfer information from one place to another. Of course, from nowhere to nowhere seems a little complicated, but it's very simple at the same time. In the beginning, God created the Word, and the Word is a messenger. So this is another way of holding it. Instead of God was the Word was with God. In the beginning, God created the Word. In other words, there's a passage of time. First, God's there, no Word. Then He creates the Word, and the Word's a messenger. So these are all bringing up different ideas and stories in our minds now. If God created the Word to deliver a message, and if the Word is a messenger, then that is what you are. You are. You are a messenger from God, an angel, God's messenger. Ways of looking at the Word. No matter what language we speak, the Word is so important in the creation of everything, because the messenger starts to deliver messages and the entire creation appears out of nowhere. Just like when I said horse, or the Godfather, an entire creation appeared to us out of nowhere. Power of the Word. Remember God and Adam talking and walking together? God creates reality, and we recreate reality with the Word. God and Adam were talking and walking. First, God creates reality. After that, time passage, we recreate reality with the Word. And we did that in prior sessions with a little example. I'm going to bring it up. I'll show you some reality and see how we recreate reality with the Word. Here goes.
That's a green puck.
Yep. P-U-C.
P-U-C.
Yes.
See, Steve has taught you well, Susan.
Yes.
So we're all seeing this. And because our minds, our knowledge base, have some knowledge about this, bing, bang, boom. We recreate reality by saying, oh, there's the green puck again. So it's like magic. And you can think of yourself as a messenger of God. God created this reality, and here you are like an angel, recreating the reality by talking about it. Oh, there's the green puck. Messenger from God. The virtual reality that we create is a reflection of reality. When we say the words, there's the green puck. It's our interpretation of reality by use of the word. Our interpretation. Nothing can exist in our minds without the word, because the word is what we use to create everything we know in the place that we know, which is our mind. So we use the word. Nothing can exist unless, there's actually a beautiful poem I was looking for and I couldn't find it, talking about how the poet is seeing something but it doesn't really exist yet because there's no word for it. No word for it.
Hmm.
All right. Let's take a breath, deep breath, all of us, angels, recognizing that we're messengers from God. If you notice, says Don Miguel Ruiz, I'm changing all the symbols on purpose. In other words, he's talking about in the beginning was the Word, in the beginning was God, and God created the world. So you can see that the different expressions mean the exact same thing. We all saw the green book. That was our reality, and the way we expressed it meant the same thing. Well, we may have expressed it a little differently. The symbols, the story can change, but the meaning is the same in all the different traditions around the world. If you listen to the intent behind the symbols, you will understand what I'm trying to say. So here is a lesson for us as we perhaps look at the beliefs of other traditions, other faith traditions, and try and listen to the intent behind all the various symbols to understand the same reality that all the different stories are trying to express. Impeccability of the word is so important because the word is you. You are the messenger. The word is all about the message you deliver, not just to everyone around you, but the message you deliver to yourself. So usually when we see be impeccable with your word, we think about the message we're delivering to others around us. We think to ourselves, oh, have I been truthful? It reminds me of the old Arab saying about the mouth and how we should consider what we're going to say before we speak. The three gatekeepers before we speak. The first gatekeeper is it truth? Am I about to speak the truth? Second gatekeeper, the mouth is it kind? Is it kind? And the third gatekeeper before speaking is it necessary? Is it necessary? Well, sometimes it's okay to set aside the third gatekeeper. Is it necessary just to promote some social interaction? But the first gatekeeper is it true? Because we are the messenger. Okay, that's the message to others. But where we're going with this is, what about the message you deliver to yourself? Because if we don't deliver a true message to ourselves, how can we deliver a true message to everyone around us?
I'm just pausing here for a moment and smiling inwardly because I think that's really a graduate level process, is the subconscious assumptions that we held as children, and we keep those assumptions in our adulthood, and we're stuck. And to unravel that is really the true seeking of the divine potential within all of us, is to learn to let go. It's fascinating anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. I designed a little exercise just to get into that very childhood thing that you brought up,
All right.
just for fun to give us some laughs, because it can be useful to do the graduate work. But to do the graduate work, we got to head back to elementary school and kindergarten. Because you're telling yourself a story, but is it the truth? If you're using the word to create a story with self-judgment and self-rejection, then you are using the word against yourself. So this is the key message. What are you being impeccable with your word? If the story you're creating has self-judgment, maybe some you picked up in childhood, or some self-rejection, and you're using the word against yourself, and you're not being impeccable. You're not being impeccable. My goodness. So how do we root all that stuff out? Well, the first thing is to be aware that if we want to agree with ourselves, we're going to be impeccable with our word. The first place we need to place our attention is what comes up in our story about ourselves. What comes up? We're going to have some fun with that. When you're impeccable, you're not going to tell yourself, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm not as good as, I'm not as strong as, I could never. It's hard. It's so hard for me to, it's very difficult for me to, all right, so here's the exercise. I think we need to have some fun with this and some laughs and allow some things that are inside of us just to pop up so that we can take a look at them and see what's going on with ourselves and have a bit of a smile about it. So, ready? A little exercise?
Ready.
Ready? Pretend that you are in elementary school. Just like you said, Sam, when we pick up all those things. I forgot an R here. Pretend that you are in elementary school right now. Your parents want you to get all A's. I don't know about you, but when I went to elementary school, they were still giving out grades, A's and B's and C's and D's, and I wanted to get at least a B. So going to pretend that, and you intend to do your best for them, for your parents, and for yourself. You don't want to bring home a report card that has anything lower than a C. One day, the teacher in school announces a pop quiz. Now, this is an amazing teacher. She's going to be able to read your mind for the answers.
Wow.
You don't need to write them down, so you don't need a pencil and paper. And in order to move right along, you'll have exactly 60 seconds to complete the pop quiz. So that shouldn't be too hard on us. So first of all, listen carefully to the questions and answer quickly whatever comes up for you. You're going to have just 60 seconds. Ready? Set. Okay, go. Answer the following questions. I'm not as strong as. I could never.
Run.
It's hard for me to. It's very difficult for me to. Okay, clock is ticking. 60 seconds. I'm not as strong as. I could never. It's so hard for me to. It's very difficult for me to. Ten more seconds. Five more seconds. Okay, time's up. Everyone stop thinking. Please, no more thinking. The pop quiz is over. No more thinking. All right. Now, I will ask your teacher if you got an A or an F. So the teacher is going to share with me what she read in your minds. Okay, thank you. I got it. Oh, your mother is going to be pleased. For some of you. Well, this is an interesting exercise, isn't it? Because actually, if you got an A, it means you got some answers for the questions, and you probably have some things to work on. And if you got an F, find some answers pop right up for you. Why, stepping back from it in the larger sense, maybe that's really an A because you don't have those negativities that somehow you acquired are in you. So that's the exercise.
My mother would be pleased, but my father would not be.
Any other sharing before we talk about the exercise? The story of you. When you are impeccable with your word, you're not going to use your knowledge against yourself. You're not going to use it against yourself, which means your voice of knowledge is not going to use the word to judge you. You're not going to judge yourself. You're not going to use the word to diminish yourself. And you're not going to use the word to find you guilty and punish you. If we have some ideas in our mind that we did something that we're ashamed of and we're guilty, we might punish ourselves for that misdemeanor. If we make an agreement that we're going to be impeccable with our word, we're just not going to use the word to judge ourselves, to finish ourselves, and so on. And in order not to do that anymore, a couple of steps. One is to recognize the places where we are diminishing ourselves. And next, to deny the power of that thinking, those words, those symbols, and finally, to find the affirmations that put that to rest. So whenever those old judgments, guilt, shame come up, we can immediately go through deny and an affirmation, which is how we are impeccable with our word. So in a sense, your happiness is up to you. And it depends on how you use the word. How we use the word. For example, if you get angry and use the word to send emotional poison to someone else, it appears that you are using the word against that person. Oh, it reminds me how, and sometimes, particularly in a family situation, I have a particular expectation, and that expectation isn't met, and I get immediately angry. And it really takes an act of will not to act on that anger and sleep on it. Because if I do use the word against another person and react angrily, I'm really using the word against myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, sometimes we get angry about something and the anger just comes and goes. That's natural. And we haven't actually sent any emotional poison to anyone else or to ourselves. The anger comes, we acknowledge it. Thank you, I'm angry about that. We let it go. And we know that if we get angry about something, particularly things involving third parties, or things we perceive through imagery we see in social media, the news, television, and we put that anger down in our hearts and we nourish it. Say, I'm angry about this situation. It appears you're using the word against that situation, but you're really using the word against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when a natural anger comes up, how can we transform that anger? Not that we deny that something we don't approve of has gone on, but we deny its power over us and we affirm how we are going to be and what we're going to say to keep ourselves healed
Mm.
and at peace, doing what's ours to do.
Well, I think one thing that that helps facilitates the anger or any unsatisfied feelings is to express them in a safe container, whether it be within the context of ourselves or with a reliable source of empathy buddy, but to be able to express and emote the feeling body
Mm-hmm.
before we can, so that we can release it and so we can be fully back to our pleasant, calm, collected, centered self.
Yes, Sam, and as you have pointed out before, this is part of the value of the peace practice, nonviolent communication, where we notice, first of all, oh, I am angry. Sometimes we just are angry, but it feels just like the way the world is. No, we need to notice I'm having a feeling, and that feeling is anger. And then Sam is sometimes we have people we can go to and work through and say, I wonder what unmet need is underneath that anger, the NVC practice. And using our heart energy to sustain us, to be able to step back from the feeling of anger, step back from the unmet need, and with our heart space to embrace that and allow us to see what's ours to do. And if what's ours to do doesn't come up right away, to be patient and know that it will come up. And maybe what's ours to do with regard to that anger is just to be resolved, to set an example.
I try to look at anger as a call to, it's like a call to action. It's an energy boost. Anger gives you energy. So there's a reason for the anger. And it's a time to look at what is the reason for the anger. What is it calling you to do? And in investigating that, you can look at, what is yours to do or what is not yours to do. And if it is yours to do, do it. And if it isn't yours to do, then that's the time to let it go. But it's like a wake-up call kind of thing.
I agree. I think that in the case of all the protests we see going on around the country, people got angry about something they perceived, and what was theirs to do was to go out on the street and say, I'm angry about this. And for most people, not to harm anyone else, but rather to say, I'm angry about this, and I want the world to know and to hear that I'm angry.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, are the protesters sending emotional poison to someone else? You
Sometimes.
see, sometimes. So there's the distinction. If the protests and the anger are to send emotional poison to someone else, it appears you're using the word against that person or that group. But really, you're using the word against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we, as you said, use our anger as a stimulus to action, but at the same time, not to deliver emotional poison to someone else? Wow, that's quite a challenge, isn't it?
Well, one way to do that, I think, is to feel the anger, like, ah, 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 and just literally emote it. I think people are not taught. I think they're in our school system. We were taught not to express the anger. We're taught to stuff it, stuff it, to suffocate it, to hold back. It's the opposite. We're the only species that holds back emotions, and that's supposed to be the correct way. No, it's the opposite. We need to express the anger, and when we express it, then we come back to a state of evenness and a balance. And then there's clarity. Because oftentimes, if I'm angry, there's an expectations, and I can breathe a sigh of relief so I can be grounded to make a better, or come to the situations with a better plan, a learning opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But until we actually express and emote the feelings, we're stuffing it. It's stuck in the body somewhere.
Yeah, all congested and stuff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we did I'm in a morning meditation group, and that is really so wonderful. But yesterday, an exercise we did was to look for or have a feeling, identify a feeling that you got going on, and look for what's going on in your body and what's going on in your emotional body, and then to breathe into it, to look at it, and to actually ride the wave of that feeling in an emotional state. And so you're like, or what's going on, you embrace what's going on and stay with it, be with it, don't stuff it, be with it all the time and ride it until it dissipates. If you're not going to do anything external about it, at least you can work on what's going on in your body and in your mind and in your emotions until it gets to the point where you can either let it go or use it, handle something else with it.
Thank
But
you.
often, you can do that with like sorrow or envy or guilt, which sometimes you can't do what Sam just did with the anger of going, which expresses it. Sometimes these are more subtle feelings that if you go into them, stay with them and ride the wave of this feeling, it's helpful. At least I found it yesterday to be very helpful.
That's exactly what this author talks about, is riding the waves of emotions.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, her name is Dr. Joan Rosenberg. No relations to Marshall Rosenberg.
Oh,
It's
okay.
and she goes through it. There's actually a video on this series. But
I'll be there. Thank you.
yeah.
I think we're all pretty much in agreement that emotion or feeling unexpressed or not fully realized is not healthy.
Right.
So it needs to be flowered and opened up.
Yeah.
However, where discretion and the agreement comes in is what we do, how we express, how we let go of the anger. And our reactionary self tends to send emotional poison to someone else. That is what tends to come up for us as we are expressing our anger. So how can we express our anger, fully realize it, and at the same time not send emotional poison to someone else? Because then we are using the word against ourselves and we're creating some new stuff within ourselves,
Right.
in addition to the anger that we initially felt.
Right.
So let's push on. How can we deal with the anger and keep our word impeccable so we don't send any emotional poison out, but we are able to experience our feelings and feel complete with them and feel satisfied that we're doing what's ours to do. Oh, here's something interesting. Gossiping is the main form of communication in human society.
Mm-hmm.
Gossiping. And we learn how to gossip by agreement.
It sounds like a TV.
It is.
Yes.
When we are children, we hear the
Yes.
adults around us gossiping about themselves and giving their opinions about other people, including people they don't even know. So as we hear this gossip and soak it up, we agree that gossiping is the thing to do. But now you are aware that our opinions are not the truth. They're just a point of view. Our opinions. Our opinions of reality. It's not the truth. They're just a point of view about the truth. You never use the word to gossip about yourself or to spread emotional poison by gossiping about other people. That seems like a tough thing to do because in a lot of groups, gossiping is just what comes up. It feels natural. We saw our adults do it as we were kids, and we fall into to gossiping. We gossip about ourselves. We spread emotional poison by gossiping about other people. So as you can see, impeccability of the word goes much deeper than it seems. Deeper than it seems. Now, with regard to gossiping, how the heck do we deal with it? When we're within a group of people with whom we wish to socially interact and they start gossiping about themselves, gossiping about others, which is their opinions, how can we remain socially interactive without falling into gossiping? How can we
You can
be,
choose to not participate or
Right.
change the subject.
right? Yes, one thing you can do is listen with compassion.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
You can
That's
listen with
the,
compassion.
right. It really is an internal practice, and then, creating the sacred space for the other person just, need to express what they want to express. Whether we've all been taught to judge and gossip, and so that's really what we're doing, is just expressing what we've been taught. And so to unlearn this is really the key, and I think that's the process of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the pure observation, what am I telling myself? What am I feeling as a result of that? What are those universal human needs? And how do I self-connect with that energy to learn to let go?
I'm part of a Zoom group of people from my high school. We get together every Thursday afternoon.
Oh,
And it's great to see people we went to high school with. My goodness, we've all changed so much. But I noticed that most of what goes on in the interaction is gossiping about ourselves, about others. And I'm a little uncomfortable with that, so I mostly keep to myself unless I have something positive to say. But last Thursday, the moderator of the group said, someone brought up this topic, let's hear everyone's opinion. And he went through and asked everyone one by one their opinion. And it came my turn. He said, Steve, what is your opinion? And then I felt obliged to gossip with my point of view and my opinion about something. And I noticed I was doing it. And I noticed that I wanted to be right in my gossiping
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to be more right than others and point out
Mm-hmm.
things that others hadn't noticed that I, with my superior knowledge, noticed. And in some way was looking for people after I finished speaking who also, bravo, Steve, you're the best gossiper and your point of view. And yes, looking for approval. I saw that others were doing the same thing, looking for approval for their point of view as they gossip, wanting to be accepted and loved.
right there. Let's pause there for a second. I love what you just said right there. We
Me
just want to
too.
be accepted and to be loved.
Yeah.
Yeah. How wonderful that gift is just recognizing that we all have the same need.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, like many teenagers, I didn't always feel accepted. So seeing my old high school people, I think some of those reactions rose up again for me. So this agreement, be impeccable with your word, was really important for me in that setting.
Yeah.
So as you can see, impeccability of the word goes deeper than it seems. The word is magic. When you adopt the first agreement, magic just happens in your life. Your intention and desires come easily because there's no resistance, there's no fear, there is only love. You are at peace. Always be aware of how you are using the word and be impeccable with your word. That concludes my remarks for the day. Any closing observations before we close today?
Thank you. That was really helpful.
Yes, thank you, Steve. It was wonderful to hear your background and using that as an illustration of your high school.
Mhm.
Mm.
And to watch how you observe yourself. You know, we slip into all these habits that we don't want to do, but we don't always observe ourselves doing.
We're just not conscious. We're playing our programs that we've been indoctrinated for.
Yeah.
Dr. Joseph Dispenza says that we've been programmed for usually up to around 35 years. We play it out until we wake up one day. Anyway.
Well, friends, shall we close with our sound of Om together?
Yes.
Let's take 3 conscious breaths. And with a deep in-breath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Have a beautiful day.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all
So
have
nice
a good
to
week.
see you.
That's nice. Good to
Thank
see
you,
you.
Steve. Yeah, good to see
Love
you all.
you.
Bye, guys. See you next
Love
week.
you.
Bye.
Love you too.